Hello and hi. Welcome to the Chronicles YouTube platform. My name is Alok Singh, and today at Chronicles we are going to start a new initiative that is known as Hawkeye, where we will cover important news related developments which are important for our current affairs related to our competitive examinations, whether be it UPSC, state PCS or any other such examinations which are premised on the current affairs. In this series, we will discuss important articles which are being covered in important newspapers like The Hindu, Indian Express, PIB or any government websites or relevant document which are needed and necessary as per requirement of the syllabus as well as our competitive exam. So now we are going to cover this 9 important news that have appeared in our today's newspaper, where the first news that relates to the relationship between government and Supreme Court, where Supreme Court has asked the government to explain the reason behind keeping certain drugs as life-saving drugs. So in this article we will see what are the laws based on which government has kept certain list of medicines as life-saving drugs and what is the reason behind it. In the second article we will deal an issue related to midday meal scheme, more particularly in the Lakshadweep, where Supreme Court had negated to interfere in this issue. And next, an article related to paper 3, that is Indian economy as well as Indian agriculture, and issue related to supply and chain, where we will see that government has imposed limitation on stocking of wheats. So we will see what is the reason, what are the causes and what are the relevant laws behind it. And the next fourth, we will discuss a judicial reform, the judiciary reform that has been upgraded. That is, in Supreme Court, we can obtain an information after establishment of National Judicial Data Grid. So we will see what is National Judicial Data Grid and what are its impact and implications. And 2 important news that have come today in The Hindu related to rubber. So we will deal with perspective of geography, with perspective of institutional bodies that had been established for perpetuation of the rubber industries. So we will see in the first title what is the crisis in rubber industries, why farmers are staging a protest. And second, government is obliging to increase the area for the rubber plantation. So we will deal in this article that board intends to increase the area under rubber plantation in northeastern states, and particularly why northeastern states have been chosen. We will deal in articles, and 2 articles related to the economy, where we will deal with what is wholesale price index, and if it is continuing to fall, then what is the impact, and a typical economy article, that is European Central Bank have increased the rate. So what would be the impact on liquidity in the respective country or the respective economic zone, and what would be the further implication and the debate between growth and inflation, we will deal in this article. So now the first article that has appeared in today's newspaper, that is The Hindu, where the headline reads as government to explain to Supreme Court regarding the price of the life-saving drug. So a petition has been filed by the All India Drugs Action Network in Supreme Court, where they have criticized or pointed to a concern where government is obliged to explain regarding the mechanism for controlling the prices of certain life-saving and essential drugs. So based on these developments, government it is obligated to file an affidavit regarding the mechanism that is related to determining the pricing as well as keeping certain medicines in the ambit of national list of essential medicines. Now what has been the developments? In November 2022, Center revised certain list and prices of essential drugs, right? And the rule governing had been the Drugs Price Control Order of 2013, where prices of certain list of medicines were demarcated, a ceiling was being imposed, and the governing authority was National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. Now this authority is a statutory body and it works under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, and its sole objective is to determine the pricing as well as mechanism that ensures keeping certain list of essential list of medicines within desirable range. So in November 2022, certain list of medicines were repriced and their configuration was kept in the national list of essential medicines. So the government said that 651 out of 870 medicines had been kept under list of national list of essential medicines. Now what are these national list of essential medicines? There are certain drugs and medicines which are quite relevant to the masses and citizens of India, right? Like medicines related to HIV, AIDS, HIV, diabetes, hypertension, tuberculosis, malaria, which are needed for the masses. Now the government is obliged to keep the prices of these drugs at reasonable rates, right? So that masses can afford it. So based on this National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority has been established to keep the prices of these medicines under certain reasonable range. So based on that 651 list of medicines out of 870, the government has kept under the list of national list of essential medicines in November 2022, and impact has been that the prices of these medicines has decreased by 16.62%, right? The prices have decreased to a reasonable rates, but the reason is why Supreme Court has asked the government to explain the reason. There has been petition filed by a All India Drug Action Network that has criticized the government, that government under the garb of, under the shield of welfareism has kept certain lists under the national list of medicines, whereas certain list of medicines related to malaria, TB, as well as 50% of the other medicines which are needed for the masses haven't been kept in the list. And the reason they have given that government is making to ensure that pharmaceutical companies generate a mass amount of revenue, that is they generate a super profit in the guise of pricing control, and they have excluded certain life-saving medicines from this essential list of medicines. Now based on this, the Supreme Court has asked the government what mechanism have the government devised based on which the prices of these medicines as well as the list of medicines has been imposed. So this is one of the important article that enforces a relationship between Supreme Court and government. The important topic relevant, important points relevant to the exam are: one, that is a statutory body, that is National Pharmaceutical Pricing Authority. In prelims they can ask what is this NPPA? ये NPPA क्या है? It's an statutory body, right? Government has established this body and it works under Ministry of Chemicals and Fertilizers, and the sole objective of this authority is to ensure the pricing, reasonable pricing, keep a reasonable ceiling on the prices of the notified drugs, and to determine the mechanism based on which this list of medicines has been kept under this national list of essential medicines. And secondly, you need to determine what are national list of essential medicines. So the issue is that certain list of medicines which are quite important, quite needed for the masses, so these drugs need to be kept under a list in order to ensure that medicine reaches to the masses, and in turn the people benefits from it, right? Now coming to the next article that deals with a Supreme Court opinion that it won't interfere with the Lakshadweep removal of meat from midday meal, right? The issue deals with the midday meal. It's a government program that caters to the nutrition needs of the children who are going to their schools in the initial years of their schooling. So the government through their midday meal scheme ensures that nutrition needs of these students are met, and on a daily basis what are the reasonable requirements, that is calories of nutritional requirements that are being mandated are catered to these midday meal schemes being run by the government. Now in Lakshadweep, it's an island, a union territory of India located near Arabian Sea, where in midday meal scheme a petition has been filed that the government needs to keep meat in the midday meal, right? Since it is integral to the culture of the Lakshadweep, the students or the children who are majoritarily they are tribals, and meat is integral part of their culture. So the government needs to keep meat in the midday meal scheme. Now Supreme Court has negated this petition and it has dismissed the appeal कि it is not within the court to decide, and there is no apparent illegality or arbitrariness in the decision, since in 2021 the government removed meat from the midday meal scheme. So the Supreme Court said that there is no illegality in that, and it's not within the domain of the Supreme Court to determine what should be the menu of this midday meal scheme, right? And mere culture of any geography or region should not be the region to keep certain menu, more particularly in the midday meal scheme. As per our Indian parliamentary system, there is separation of power between legislative, executive and judiciary, where the role of judiciary is to frame laws, role of the executive is to implement those laws, and the role of judiciary is to ensure that laws being framed and implement is in with the value of the provisions of the constitution. So the objective, what should be the menu of the midday meal schemes is not within the prerogative of the Supreme Court, and based on the based on this, the Supreme Court has said that it is not within the domain of the court to decide what should be the menu of the midday meal schemes, and the court respects the administrative decisions that has been taken, right? So this is one of the important articles that deals with the separation of power, as well as there's a debate about judicial activism as well as judicial overreach. So you can see through this judgment, Supreme Court has ensured that there's a sense of balance between the activism and overreach, where it has respected the domain of legislative and executive and has denied to interfere in the domain of a government policy and a scheme, that is midday meal scheme. Ki meat should be mandated in this midday meal scheme, and petitioner has argued that meat is an integral part of the Lakshadweep students who are maximally tribal, so meat should be kept in the meal, right? Now there has been further arguments given that besides meat have been kept out, but there are other non-veg dishes like eggs and fish which are being given to the students in the midday meal scheme. And Solicitor General K.M. Nataraj, appearing for the Lakshadweep administration, has submitted the report. Although meat is not being given, but already you have certain non-veg dishes like eggs and fishes have been given. So this article is important, relevant to our GS paper 2 regarding the role of the judiciary as well as other arms of the government. Now coming further, there's a news in our next article that government has imposed a limitation on stocking of the wheat, right? Government ने जो है wheat की stocking पे जो है एक limit लगा दी है, and reason they have given reason that has been seen कि of a recent we the Indian as a citizens we are going to phase our जो है festival periods, that is Diwali is approaching, Dashera is approaching. So in order to inflate the prices of these grains, these foods as well as fuels, what the traders or individuals do is they hoard these grains, artificially hoard, in order to create a demand, right? If there's lesser amount of wheat available in the market, and if it doesn't cater to the masses of the population, the price will automatically inflate, right? More and more people will be eager to pay more and more prices. So the government, in order to ensure that the prices of these wheats are within the limits and there are reasonable supply of the wheat in the market, it has imposed the limitation, and it has mandated to ensure that a maximum of 2,000 metric ton of wheat can be stocked by either retailers or the wholesalers or any individual dealing in the wheat trade, right? And on a regular basis, every Friday, these traders have to register on the wheat stock the limit of how much wheat they are stocking in their warehouses or wherever their storage houses are. Now earlier it was 3,000 metric tons, but now the government has imposed the limitation and has mandated that these wholesalers need to keep a maximum of 2,000 metric tons of wheat in their warehouses. And if it is found that these individuals or these traders are in violating this rule, of if they are keeping more than 2000 metric tons of wheat in their storehouses, then a penalty can be imposed, a punitive action can be taken, and the governing rule is Essential Commodity Act 1955 section 6 and section 7. Now this act mandates, government has purposely जो है framed this act to ensure that there are reasonable supplies of food, fuel, and other such commodities which are essential for these citizens. So based on that, Essential Commodity Act has been framed, and government through use of this act can impose limitations on modern day traders and individuals, so there's no issue of supply chain and artificial scarcity ना maintain हो, right? Market although laissez-faire यानी कि suo motu govern हो, market should govern suo motu, right? लेकिन if there are any adversities or artificial scarcity purposely being driven by hoarding, अगर ऐसा कुछ incidences होता है, then government needs to step up and ensures through Essential Commodity Act that the supply chain is not disrupted. So this is an article that has appeared in today's Hindu newspaper, where government has imposed the limitation कि at maximum of 2000 metric ton the individuals or retailers can hold in their stock. Now coming further, an article that deals with judicial reform. Now there has been impinging issues that there are lots and lots of cases pending, be it in Supreme Court, High Court or District Court, and since the right to justice is integral part to the Article 21 of the Indian Constitution, and there's a say that delayed justice is justice denied. Now based on these issues, there has been effort in past 4 or 5 years where the efforts had been taken to reform the judiciary. So based on that, a National Judicial Data Grid has been established which can provide information related to the pendency of the cases and all related information. So the article has appeared. So let's see what is the article all about. So the real-time data and filing and disposal of the cases in Supreme Court will now be available at the fingertips of the common man. Through the use of this National Judicial Data Grid, an individual can obtain the information what are the cases that have been filed in the Supreme Court and what is their status, whether they have been running, what are their due dates based on which the hearing of the cases are being heard, and through the use of this National Judicial Data Grid. Now what is this National Judicial Data Grid? It is a repository, a national repository, a platform है where cases instituted, pending, disposed by the courts at the length and breadth of the country, be it in Delhi or high courts, functioning in the respective state, state capitals or any other areas, whatever district courts that are being functioning. Through this National Judicial Data Grid, a judicial mechanism is being devised where there is interconnectivity and you can obtain any information related to any case from this National Judicial Data Grid. So the onboarding of the Supreme Court data based on the open data policy, यानी कि you can easily obtain open source है, any individual can log into this data grid and can obtain the status of the information, right? Besides onboarding of the National Judicial Data Grid would mean the judiciary का जो है coordination improve होगा, there will be more and more informed decision making, optimum deployment of the resources and manpower होगा, right, and huge potential for high quality research work. Now if you have information available at your discretion through this National Judicial Data Grid, so there would be maximum coordination, more and more transparency, more and more awareness ki what is the status of cases that are pending in the court, and since the file moves from the district court to the high court then to the Supreme Court, so a coordination build up होगा in file transferring में जो time का loss होता है, when there's a loss in time in the transferring of file, you can use this National Judicial Data Grid to know the information or the status of the case. So based on this National Judicial Data Grid had been established that can reform the Supreme Court. So this is all about this, article ki National Judicial Data Grid hai. Some facts are being given ki as of 2023, there are about 64,854 cases that are pending in Supreme Court of India. Can you imagine? There are 64,854 cases pending in just Supreme Court. And when you go deep, down to the hierarchy of judiciary, be it High Court or the District Court, the number of cases pending just rises to exponential level, right? So, as a reform ki bahut need and necessity hai, so that based on that, National Judicial Data Grid have been established. Now, this data grid, for now, it has given the information that around 583 judges bench matter are being pending. Now, ये 3 judges bench matter क्या है? एक technical term है, right? जो भी divisional bench होता है, वो generally 3 judges द्वारा chair होता है. And any matter or any issue related to the constitutional matter है, अगर if there are any issue related to constitution, then minimum of 5 judges sit on that bench, and based on that, around 288 cases are there. Now 7 judges benches have been established, and around 135 dealing with the matter of civil cases, and around 9 judges benches are sitting and heading this case are the present status of Supreme Court, which has been obtained from this National Judicial Data Grid. So this is one of the article that has appeared. Important है judicial reform के perspective से, paper 2 के perspective से, right? Now, in current budget, government has allotted certain, more amount of money for this judicial reform. E-courts का एक provision लाया गया था. Phase 3 के लिए government ने जो budget allot कर दिया था कि, judiciary का more reformation हो, more online hearing हो, individuals don't have to move to the, far more areas. So these are the steps that are being taken to reform the judiciary. So you can see ki the article has appeared, ki National Judicial Data Grid has been established. Now coming further, there are 2 articles related to the more particularly rubber se related 2 articles that have appeared in today's newspaper. One deals with the crisis of the farmers of rubber, and second deals with the expansion of area for rubber cultivation. So one by one we need to deal with this article, what it is all about. Now the first article deals with the grievances of the farmers of rubber plantation. They have pinpointed an issue that government needs to keep the prices up to a minimum of rupees 300 so that farming of rubber is affordable. And एक NGO है All India Kisan Sabha. If you have read history, then do mention in the comment box कि All India Kisan Sabha जो कब establish हुई थी and who was the founding members. So the farmers have, they have approached the government to, keep a maximum at a minimum around 300 rupees जो है per kg जो है prices of this rubber, so that the this rubber is remunerative and affordable for these farmers. Now an issue and one more criticism has been raised by this farming community of the rubber, since it's a commercial plantation. In order to deal with its pricing and effective functioning, एक board established किया गया है, that is Rubber Development Board, right? And issue has been raised कि government is working in favor of private companies, since companies like tire making companies, they are dependent on rubber for the manufacturing of tires. So government is working in their favor to make the prices of this rubber at a lower level, right? So that these companies can favor. So these farmers have raised this issue, and besides that, they have raised one more issue कि government is about to bring a bill, that is Rubber Promotion and Development Bill 2023, where it is seen with apprehension that Rubber Development Board is going to be dismantled in the BJP-led government. So an issue has been raised. Now, since this article deals with paper 3 wala this part ki what should be the remunerative prices, now we need to focus from the perspective of geography, that how is rubber cultivated, in what areas rubber is cultivated. So the rubber is obtained from a tree, that is rubber tea, and the scientific name is Hevea brasiliensis. This is the primary source of natural rubber. And when coming to the geographical conditions, this rubber is being cultivated at present time in India, in southern states, more particularly in Kerala and Tamil Nadu, since where the suitable conditions like high temperature to a range of 24 degrees Celsius to 35 degrees Celsius is being required. So the southern part of our country suits for this rubber cultivation. Rainfall की requirement जो है around 2000 to 3000 millimeters की requirement है. There's a need for this amount of rainfall to cultivate the rubber, right? And pH is slightly slightly acidic, around 6 to 7 of pH range चाहिए, so that rubber can be suitably cultivated. एक मोर पर्टिकुलर हाइट पे बियॉन्ड 600 मीटर ऑफ हाइट जो है रबर का कल्टीवेशन नहीं होता है, रबर कांट बी कल्टीवेटेड, कि एज विथ इंक्रीज इन एल्टीट्यूड द टेम्परेचर डिक्रीजेस, सो दिस क्राइटेरिया हाई टेम्परेचर इट कैनॉट बी मेट थ्रू दैट, राइट? Now this is the issue related to the rubber crisis. Now we are coming same dealing with the rubber. The government is obliging to increase the area for rubber cultivation. Now earlier as I dealt ki majority of the jo 8.5 lakh hectares of the rubber jo that is being cultivated, in that around 5 lakh hectares of the field is located in Kerala and Kanyakumari of Tamil Nadu districts, and around 1 lakh hectares in Tamil Nadu. So the government is planning to expand the area of cultivation of rubber beyond this 8.5 lakh hectare, and the suitable geography for that is northeastern part of the India. So there you can get the tropical climate, adequate rainfall is there, temperature conditions as I mentioned required for the rubber plantation you can get in the northeastern region. So besides Sikkim, all the northeastern states and West Bengal had been chosen for rubber plantation. The government aims to bring more 2 lakh hectares of land for this rubber plantation, and around 1000 crore have been invested. The tire manufacturing companies, that is the private firms, they have invested around 1000 crores of rupees in the next 5-year project starting from 2021 to increase the geographical area or extent of the rubber cultivation, right? So the potential in these states was for 4 lakh hectares. Considering challenges such as landslide, it was decided to plant rubber tree in 2 lakh hectares, 2 lakh hectares of area. Since the issues like landslides are there, right? Landslide होता है तो they rubber plantation जैसे आज का कोई infrastructure आप develop कर रहे हो, they can downgrade. So earlier what it was expected to increase around 4 lakh hectares, now it has been decreased to 2 lakh hectares of land that needs to be expanded so that rubber ka cultivation can be done more and more. Now as I deal to deal with the prices, to deal with the issues regarding the rubber plantation, to meet the concerns of the farmers, what should be the prices, what should be the market, uske liye to govern that issue, one board was established, that is Rubber Board of India. This information is very important from the perspective of our prelims. Ki it is a statutory body, you can see through law this Rubber Board of India has been established, and it functions within the ambit of Ministry of Commerce and Industry, Ministry of Commerce and Industries, and its headquarter जो है this Rubber Board of India's headquarter is located in Kottayam, that is Kerala. You know that Kerala is one of the leading producer of rubber in India. So this board is all about that deals with the rubber plantation, and it deals with the growth and sustainability of this rubber sector. So there are two pressing issues. One is related to the concern of the rubber farmers, ki they need ki the prices of this rubber should be kept at a minimum of 300, and their concern is that ki through this new bill that is government is about to present, Rubber Board of India will be dismantled, and these are the geographical requirements as per need of our geographic syllabus. Ki what are the requirements of the geographical features that need for the rubber growth, right? And the area needs to expand. Abhi South India mein iska cultivation ho raha tha. Now the government is making sure that rubber cultivation is expanded to the northeastern states, barring Sikkim. Sikkim is not part of that, and besides northeastern जो है आपका West Bengal में भी जो है इसकी area जो है expand की जाएगी rubber board का, right? Now the next article that we are going to deal with is related to an economy, typical economy article. So the data given in this article is not of much relevance since you're going to approach for examination some month later. So data important नहीं है. You need to understand what is wholesale price index, WPI क्या होता है, how does it function, and what the data, what does data of wholesale price जो है indicate, right? So the news is that कि the wholesale prices are continuing to fall. There has been an issue of rising inflation of a recent months. CPI बढ़ रहा था, wholesale price index was rising. So now the prices are going to fall down. So what is wholesale price index, right? First we need to understand wholesale price index is an index which determine the prices of the commodities or other products based on the wholesale level, right? At wholesale level आपको जो prices जो है commodities के वो पता चलता है, that is known as wholesale price index, and this report is being generated by Ministry of Commerce and Industries. Ministry of Commerce and Industry जो है on a regular basis WPI को जो है release करती है, जिससे हमें ये पता चलता है, we can know the information कि what is the inflation prevailing, the inflation in our countries. And wholesale level caters to the three dimensions. One is primary articles, second is manufacturing, and the third is the matters related to fuel. So it tracks the information related to food, non-food items, matters items related to the manufacturing, items related to the fuel. So based on the information that are available to WPI, government can readjust its policies. Business entities can know what are the economic conditions going to prevail. So it's a good news that wholesale prices index जो है it's about to fall, it's going to fall. So as I said कि data important नहीं है, what is on a regular basis, on a monthly basis it keeps on changing. You need to understand what is wholesale price index, कौन publish करता है, what are the key ingredients जो इस wholesale prices में जो cater होता है. So this is article that deals with this wholesale price index, and the reason that government has given कि this wholesale price index is cooling, ये एक important domain है. The government attributed wholesale deflation to the price fall in mineral oils, basic metals and chemicals. ये 3-4 ingredients हैं whose जिनके prices जो downfall हो रहे हैं, and that is the reason behind कि wholesale price index is continuing to fall, right? So this is a typical economic article related to WPI index. Now एक और जो economy से related article है, that is ECB raises rate again even as the threat of recession grows. Now European Central Bank, as you know, there has been growing economic issues, inflation was rising, on a regular basis. So European Central Bank has raised the rates up to 10 times on a regular basis. जो है the government has raised this rates जो है around 10 straight interest rate increase हुआ है. But a typical issue is government although has increased the rate in order to tackle the inflation. Now how does this function? Once you increase the rate of the individuals or the company can buy from the bank, so it would be costly on part of these individuals or business entities. So the demand would automatically cool down, right? Demand आपका गिर जाएगा अगर rates बढ़ा दिए गए, right? And since the demand was high, so inflation was high. तो जब अगर डिमांड ही कम हो जाएगा and there is an adequate match between demand and supply, so inflation will automatically cool off, right? So based on these inputs, European Central Bank has raised the interest of their deposits to tackle the inflation. Now the issue has been, what is a typical issue? The debate between growth and development and inflation. एक two-edged sword है, right? Walking on a tightrope. कोई भी monetary policy जब कोई government या banking entity determine करती है, तो it has एक dicey approach होता है to maintain an approach कि growth और inflation दोनों को properly maintain किया जाए. अब issue has been कि the European Central Bank जो है आपका 10th straight time they have increased the rate, and that has led to acceleration of the cost that this business entities can borrow. And since they found it costly to borrow this cost at higher rate, so the demand has automatically cooled off, right? Lekin if the demand continues to slow down on a regular basis, then growth can be hampered. Growth आपका negative होगा, demand boost up नहीं होगी. credit जो है costlier होगा, then companies won't go to buy more and more money, right? Since it is a costly thing, तो growth जो है आपका degrade करेगा, and based on that, if you are trying to tackle inflation, एक दूसरा concern other concern is कि the recession can follow, right? If growth is slowing down, then there are pressing issues कि recession can follow. In technical economic terms, अगर 2 quarter में, in 2 quarters the economic growth is growing down, then it is typically called जो है recession. That is not good for an economy. So a reasonable balance needs to be maintained between growth and other side maintaining what should be the reasonable rate to tackle the inflation. So this article deals with particularly these issues कि जो भी policy experts हैं, economists हैं, they are trying to figure out कि what should be the reasonable rate based on which the growth and inflation can be easily tackled. So this is all about today's session. Hope you liked it. If you have liked it, and please do like and subscribe, and please give us the feedback whether this initiative or the approach appeals to you or not, right? So this is all for today's. Good luck and all the best.